Mike Tirico, along with John Gruden and Lisa Salters, will have the Eagles and the Falcons. And Mike is kind enough to join us now. Hi, Mike.
Hello, legend. Hello, legend. How are you?
That means I'm old, Mike.
Me too. that was very good the other night with Scott.
Yeah. But I just wanted to wear the visitor's badge to let everybody know that I was only going. It was a drive-by.
That was good. I was replayed somewhere. My daughter said, "Dad, he has that same statue you have too." I said, "Yeah, it's about as useful as it is, so it's all good."
I had Andrea Kramer reached out and said, "Do you want my 15-year Mickey Mouse trophy?" And I said, "No. That's why I gave mine to Van Pelt. I don't need it anymore." How many years have you been at ESPN?
20. This is 24.
Wow.
I started in 91, June of 91. 24 years.
How old were you when you started?
25.
Because you were going in. I mean, you
24. I was 24 when I started.
Was I nice to you when you started?
Eventually, yeah. Bob Lee was the nicest by far. You came along the way.
What was I like in the early days? The formative years here for you.
You still see to me, you were still the guy from CNN that I watched in college. You and Meat were the CNN guys, and I'm like, oh my God, those guys work with Patrick Emery. They're really cool.
Gary Miller, being known as Meat. Yeah. So it took me a little while before I
warmed up.
Yeah. Well, I think I had to see if you were any good.
I understand. That's okay. Like I said, Bob Lee blessed me and said I was okay. I did a 1 a.m. Sports Center with Bob, and that got me through it, so it was all right. I've emerged otherwise somewhat unscathed.
Well, you were kind of a Doogie Howser of sportscasters, though. I think that's what it was. I just wanted to see this young kid coming in. Is he going to take my job? I looked at everybody who came in that damn building as, is he going to take my job?
But we were all jealous of your TV hair. You still have the best TV hair in the business.
Fowler's pretty good though, Mike.
Yeah, but yours has just stood the test of time. I was particularly impressed in Foxborough. I don't think anything moved. That was a testimony to inner strength.
Well, Jesse Palmer's got some good moss.
He does, but he's another generation. I'd say let me see Jesse Palmer do it for 30 years, then we'll compare notes.
What about John Gruden's hair, which hasn't changed, I think, since probably his first communion?
It's all still the same. It's full Chucky hair. Yeah, it's solid. You can just kind of go one way or the other, and it still looks the same. So it's a solid cut. We were talking earlier in the show about Eli Manning and the Giants. That sometimes somebody makes a mistake, other times they choke, and you as a play-by-play guy, that word choke is or somebody quit. Right,
those are two areas that are really, once you go there, you have to commit to it. How often do you go and say somebody choked?
Almost never. Those are stop signs. And until you know the reason, then, and usually while you're doing play-by-play, you don't know if something else happened. Was that play sent in? Was he told to do that in that situation? Person feeling the pressure is one thing, and we talked about that a lot in the tennis the last couple of weeks. But choke is, I think, something left for the athlete, the ex-player who had been there, for them to say. It's up to us to just make the obvious observations, if you will, that fans at home are making. But I think to say somebody choked under the pressure, that has to come from the person who's been in those shoes.
He's Mike Tirico joining us. ESPN kicking off its 2015 NFL schedule. You got a doubleheader coming up tonight. Mike will be calling the Eagles and the Falcons with John Gruden and Lisa Salters. The Vikings-Niners follow that game. What fascinates you about the Eagles?
Chip Kelly, he kind of, I hate to say this because it's dominated everyone's weekend if they watch sports, but it feels like he's gone FanDuel and DraftKings. And he just changed everybody. New quarterback, new running back, new receivers. But when you really look at it, bring in DeMarco Murray for LaShawn McCoy, more north-south runner, less negative yardage plays, which he can't stand. Sam Bradford has the skill set to take you a notch above, and he's making the comparison of Peyton Manning and Drew Brees were only available to change teams because of injury. This is the same situation with Bradford. Can he get hurt again? Of course he can. But he's a significant talent upgrade in his mind from Nick Foles. So he went there. And with Macklin and Deshaun Jackson, Chip gave us a good line the other night, Dan. He said very simply, I like guys who love football, not love the game because of what it does for them. And I think that's just his feeling, that he brought in young receivers who are very passionate about the game. He's got his room.
Yeah.
He has set his lot with his guys, and he's going to go forward this way.
Why are all the creative minds in college football or coming from college football? They're not in the NFL.
No, in large parts because you can pick your players. You pick your team and you recruit them and you nurture them and you have all that going on. Whereas here, you develop DeMarco Murray. Now he's gone. You can't do anything about it. Salary cap teaches you so many things that you can learn from the past, build young, and now look at Seattle. They can't keep everybody together. So what Pete Carroll did at USC, he'd have those guys lined up, ready to replace. Now you can't. So in some ways, for the person who likes to have one, as Nick Saban says, a first-round draft pick every time I choose a player, it's a very different animal.
I know you've been mixing in tennis with everything else in your calendar. Now, you had Serena losing in the semifinal at the U.S. Open. How surprised were you?
That was shocking. I started to just kind of go through my mind of the things that I've been a part of with Jean Van de Velde in '99 when all he needed to do was make a double at the British Open to win, and he couldn't. That was as shocking as that. And this was because of the opponent, because of the way Serena had played the prior two matches, and she had seemed to get over the little bump of all the pressure that was out there. And she certainly felt the pressure. You could just see it in the way she was walking about, the way she was tentatively hitting, blocking it back in the court. Given the margin of the two players and their history and their quality, it was extraordinary. It really was.
The difference in rhythm, I would imagine, for a play-by-play guy, the cadence, how important that is, because you get into a certain rhythm depending on the sport. The difference between going from tennis to calling the NFL game tonight is what?
Absolutely. It's everything. There was one game where Serena just started those big, loud, come-on screams, and she did it after one point. I looked at Mary Jo Fernandez, who I was calling the match with, and we both kind of shook our heads, and I turned off my mic, and so did she. And we just sat there. If something needed to be said, you could pop it back on, but it was too good. Chris Fowler and the McEnroe brothers did that last night in the last game. In football, you almost never do that because there's so much going on. But tennis, it's so simple. It's right in front of you. So the rhythm and the cadence becomes very, very different. Tennis, you talk when the ball is not moving. Football, you talk when the ball is moving. So it's a 180 for us in our chair. But we wear makeup, so we're trained to do those things.
Tell everybody in the ESPN meeting coming up that I said hello, okay?
I promise I will. I wish you would have kept the visitor badge and just put it on your set there, but that's okay.
One day you may be doing the same thing, Mike.
Dan, the next time I go, if I get a visitor badge, it'll be an honor to bring it to you. How's that?
Thank you, Mike.
Goodbye, Dan.
Mike Tirico.